The forge chamber hummed with the controlled chaos of creation. 17 cadets stood at their stations, plasma torches flickering like captured stars, while crucibles of molten alloy glowed with industrial promise. Instructor Varen Kesh moved between them with the measured grace of a predator evaluating prey, his chitinous plates clicking softly with each step. At Station 14, Cadet Ilara Morn stood perfectly still. "You will forge a blade," Varen Kesh had announced at the session's beginning, his compound eyes sweeping across the class. Not a ceremonial trinket, not a display piece, a weapon that could save your life in the void where technology fails and flesh meets flesh. His mandibles clicked with emphasis. "You have 8 standard hours. The materials are yours to choose." Around Ilara, her classmates had rushed to the supply racks. The Krillian twins selected titanium carbide composite, its reputation for edge retention legendary among bladesmiths. Jorvax the Trenthian claimed a rod of crystallized neutronium, expensive, nearly indestructible, and heavy enough to crush bone with momentum alone. Even Scylla, the timid Vesper whose people had evolved on a peaceful garden world, had chosen reinforced ceramic, a sensible if uninspired selection. Ilara had walked past the gleaming metal ingots, the exotic alloys, the pre-treated blanks that would make the work easier. She'd gone to the organic materials locker, rarely opened, according to the dust on its seals, and withdrawn a single item, the femur of a Taurian ridge beast. Now, 2 hours into the exercise, Varen Kesh stood before her station, his head tilting in that peculiar way that indicated confusion in his species. "Cadet Morn," he said, his translator rendering his clicks into flat standard. "Explain your selection." Ilara looked up from where she'd been examining the bone under magnification. "Sir, I'm forging a blade. From osseous tissue." It wasn't a question. Around them, the ambient noise of the forge dimmed as other cadets paused to listen. "Cadet, the assignment requires a functional weapon. Bone is brittle, porous. It lacks the molecular density to hold an edge under stress." "Human bone might be, sir," Ilara said, setting down her examination tool. But Taurian ridge beasts evolved on a 2.3G world with atmospheric predators that could shear through standard armor plating. Their skeletal structure had to support extreme loads while remaining light enough for agility. She ran her finger along the bone's length. "The cortical bone density here is actually higher than most metallic alloys, and the trabecular structure provides flexibility that prevents catastrophic failure." Varen Kesh's antennae twitched, surprise, perhaps, or recalculation. "Theory is not practice, Cadet. Proceed." Ilara had already begun, while her classmates hammered and heated, folding metal in the ancient ways adapted for modern materials. Ilara worked with patience that seemed almost meditative. She'd started by cutting the femur lengthwise with a precision laser, opening it like a book to reveal the honeycomb interior. From this, she selected the densest section, where the bone was thickest and the mineral content highest. The shaping took hours. No hammer, no forge heat. Bone would char and weaken under such treatment. Instead, she used progressively finer grinding tools, wearing away material with the patience of water-carving stone. The bone dust piled at her feet like snow, and the ventilation system whispered it away. Around her, blades began to take shape. Jorvax's neutronium knife gleamed like captured moonlight, heavy and brutal. The Krillian twins had produced matching daggers with serrated spines, efficient killing tools. Even Scylla's ceramic blade looked competent, its edge sharp enough to split photons. Ilara's work looked to the untrained eye like nothing at all. Just a gradually narrowing piece of bone, pale and organic and utterly out of place among the industrial symphony of metallurgy. By hour 6, Varen Kesh returned. His expression was unreadable, but his stillness spoke volumes. The bone had transformed. What had been a curved femur segment was now a straight, narrow blade perhaps 20 centimeters long. Its edge caught the forge light strangely, neither reflecting nor absorbing but seeming to drink it in. "The edge," Varen Kesh said softly. "How?" "Microserrations," Ilara explained, not pausing in her work. She was burnishing now, compressing the bone surface with a polished agate tool. The trabecular structure creates natural teeth at the microscopic level. When I hone the edge, I'm not trying to eliminate them, I'm aligning them. It'll cut like a saw blade, but smoother, and unlike metal, it won't ping sensor sweeps looking for weapons. "Clever," the instructor admitted. "But durability?" Watch, sir. Ilara set down her burnishing tool and picked up the blade. Without ceremony, she drew it across the edge of her workstation, a surface made of compressed durasteel that bore the scars of countless student projects. The bone knife sang a high, pure note and left a hair-thin score in the metal. Then she struck it, pommel first, against the station's anvil. Once, twice, 3 times. Each impact ringing through the forge chamber. The blade emerged unmarred. Ridge beastbone has a Mohs hardness approaching 8, Ilara said into the silence. The organic matrix provides impact resistance that crystalline structures can't match. And if it does chip, she met Varen Kesh's compound eyes. I can repair it with basic materials found on nearly any inhabited world. Metal requires forges, energy, specific alloys. Bone just needs bone. The instructor was quiet for a long moment. Around them, the other cadets had stopped working entirely, their own blades forgotten. Your species, Varen Kesh finally said, has been spacefaring for barely 3 centuries, the youngest in this academy by millennia. And yet you look at a ridge beast femur and see what my people, with 50,000 years of metallurgical tradition, categorized as waste material. Sir, Ilara said carefully, humans have been making tools from bone for over 200,000 years. We started with it before we discovered metal. We never forgot the lessons. Varen Kesh's mandibles spread in what might have been a smile. No, he said. I suppose you didn't. When the evaluation came, Yorvax's neutronium blade scored highest for raw destructive potential. The Krillian daggers earned praise for their tactical flexibility. But it was Ilara's bone knife that Varen Kesh held up before the class as the timer expired. This, he said, turning the pale blade so it caught the light, is why we train together, why we learn from each other. Cadet Morn was told to forge a blade, but she remembered something the rest of us forgot. His gaze swept across the 17 cadets. That the most sophisticated solution is not always the most advanced. Sometimes the oldest answer is the right one. He handed the blade back to Ilara. Top marks, cadet, and a reminder to us all. Never underestimate what humanity carved from the bones of their past. Ilara accepted the blade, feeling its weight, its balance, its possibility. Around her, her classmates returned to their cooling forges, but she could feel their eyes on her, reassessing, recalculating, in the void between stars. In the great galactic community of 1,000 civilizations, humanity was still the newcomer, the upstart, the species that had barely crawled from its cradle. But they had crawled from it with bone knives in their hands, and they had never forgotten how to sharpen them.